Good morning. Welcome to Pistols Progress, episode number 22. I'm Heather Smith, the creator of BarrelRacingTips.com, and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I have been coming to you live here on Facebook to take you behind the scenes with me as I'm getting my best barrel horse back in shape for competition. So this morning, as I get started, I wanted to challenge you to share with us down in the comments what your goals for the weekend are and what your intentions that you're setting are for your riding and your competing this weekend. I would love to hear about it. So I wanted to share a little bit about how our ride went and what was on my mind and some value I thought I could offer. Pistol actually just had a bath and he just got rinsed off and he's chilling on the hot walker. It is, the temps are really climbing up there here in Texas, but I get out here at 6 in the morning. When I came out this morning, it was only 77 degrees. So if we get wrapped up by this time of day, it really isn't too bad at all. But he's definitely, I've mentioned before that his energy levels haven't been real high, which that's part of, educating our horse is a huge part of having, the forward momentum and motion that we need, but we also want our horses to feel good, to feel like moving, and he's kind of a laid-back horse by nature, but the heat plays a part in that. But I've been tweaking his diet and taking things into consideration so that from a foundational level, he has the natural effort to offer me. It's already there when I ask for it. So speaking of that, today, this is episode number 22, but I started out with a whole month of focusing on primarily conditioning him on the ground just to start him up really gradually because he had been off for so long. And so, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is maybe only his 8th ride, but we are gradually making progress. Since I'm really kind of starting fresh with him on the pattern, and he did have such a long vacation because he had an injury to his foot in September, it's a great time to reevaluate the ingredients and everything I have going for us on the barrels, and to basically take it to another level and sort of start fresh. So I have 3 barrels set up in a line in the arena right now, and what I've been working on primarily is just large circles around them, because it's easier for a horse to sort of forget about their old associations with how they turn a barrel and use their body when the more distance you create from the barrel, and it's also easier for them physically to just use themselves correctly when they're not binding their body in a small circle. So the smaller the circle, the more challenging it is to keep that really correct form. And for the most part, it's something that we really need to, in a lot of cases, focus on building that ability as a learned skill and through conditioning with our horses. And so what I wanted to talk about today, you know that if you follow Pistol now, you know that we have he's my dream horse. We have an incredible relationship, and he's really he's our partner, and I think, or my partner, and I think that our horses need to be our partners. We need to have a perception of them and look at them as if we're on the same team, because we really are. It's not like us against them whatsoever, and it's really, really important that we embrace that attitude. So if you want your horse to like you, there are so many things that we can do, but at the same time, we can't get so hooked into wanting to be friends that we're not willing to get firm sometimes and potentially regress in the area of the relationship in order to have the respect and understandings, the responsiveness level that we need to be successful where we're headed. And so I'm in really unique circumstances this summer because I do not have a really huge, really specific goal, because to be honest, my number one priority this year has been to get our arena completely redone. And so we've been working really hard and saving up for that, and that's something that's going to pay off for us and our horses for many years into the future. So I'm keeping Pistol with a really light schedule when I do get him ready to compete. September 1st is the day that we're going to make our first comeback to competition. Oh, thanks, Charla. But I have a challenge for you. flip the script there and word that differently and say, I am going to keep the barrels up. Instead of, I don't even want to repeat what you wrote. So, you know, because the mind tends to lock on to those, it doesn't register the do or do not, like it registers and thinks about the specific descriptive words. So turn that around in your mind and you'll be amazed at what a difference that makes. Every so often I catch myself with certain things, but I've trained myself to be really particular about my language in other ways. And that's a big one for barrel racers, about the H word or the T word that comes before barrel. Thank you so much, Mary. Yeah, I'm really excited. So I was saying that our schedule is actually pretty light, and his first race back will be September. I don't necessarily have plans to compete on him really hard all throughout the rest of the year. Like, we are going to completely regroup and get really serious about competing next year. But like I said, our #1 priority is really getting our arena completely redone. And if you're not fortunate enough to live in a place where the native ground is really good and you've ever had to go through this, you know that it's like it is a huge investment, but it's a worthwhile investment. And everything else about our place we really like, and otherwise we would consider just moving. There is a huge vein of like sand that goes through this area where we live, and we missed it by maybe 200 yards. So, but anyway, so his schedule has been really light, and the benefit of that is that I have been experimenting, like with trying to get more accomplished with less. Like, for example, it's like how much fluidity and soundness and you know, his freedom of movement, like how much can I accomplish with diet alone and with supplements. But at the same time, this is just what I was going to get into about tuning up like our horse's responsiveness, is that we can't be kind of stuck in like doing less that we're not being effective. So basically, it wouldn't be fair to him if I was like just thought I was going to keep going forward and experiment. And really, when you want to do more with less with your horse's diet and with their supplements, it takes time to like tweak things. If you just if you have to have your horse in top form in like a short amount of time, you're probably just going to have to throw everything you can at him or fall back to the things that you know are effective, like the big guns, right? And but if you want to try to build a foundation more naturally, like it takes time, like something that's a program that's effective in that sense. So it takes time and tweaking and experimentation. And if you're changing too much at once, you're not going to know what it was that either might have helped or that's not helping and so forth. And so basically, now that his workload is starting to increase, I'm getting to that point where my time is sort of running out for experimenting with his supplements and so forth, and I really need to order some Adequan and Penosan because it would not be fair for me to keep asking him for all of this like energy and like really using his hindquarters, and when he just like doesn't feel like it. And a horse doesn't have to be like lame or sore to be just like a little bit sluggish, or to have like it's like their joints just kind of get fatigued quicker and easier. And it's so that's something to keep in mind. Sometimes a horse really needs to be amped up with their joint support, and the only symptom is that they're just a little bit slow. Like, one other thing I just noticed is that a little tiny bit of a bubble of fluid like on his hock, and he doesn't tend to get hock sore, but that's like a red flag, and I need to be taking action, like taking things to the next level and doing things that I know are effective, that are going to support him in the workload that we're moving into at this stage of the game. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to continue also doing what I can to make sure that foundational support system is effective as possible too. So But what I wanted to talk about as far as our horse's responsiveness, I'll go back to where I started about how we want our horses to like us, right? And so we don't want to like interrupt, you know, this sort of everything positive, everything going good. And the thing is that I felt myself needing to like hold him accountable for what I know that he knows. And I have to be so absolutely impeccable with my consistency, because he's the kind of horse that if you give him an inch, he'll take a mile. And if you let something slide and you're not, if you don't, he will always rise to the level that you require of him. He will never like tell you no. He will always give you what you ask. But if you slack off and you stop asking, he will assume very quickly that he doesn't have to give us full effort. And so I have to be so on my game in that sense. And this is an example of how like I want to make sure that I'm taking care of my health. If I'm not super sharp, if I'm tired, I am going to be slacking off, and then it's going to lead to him slacking off. So it's like I have to hold my standards high for myself on every level. And so when it comes to instilling and like reinforcing the responsiveness that we've already developed in our horses, we have to think about it in terms of like using phases of pressure, right? And so like let's say a horse, like let's say that they were not responding appropriately and I had to come in and get like really firm to get the results that I needed. And oh, hi Michelle, I got him from John and Cindy Baltazar. So yeah, he's awesome, they're awesome, I just love him. And I'm just catching up with the, no, they're not really, I wouldn't really call them wind puffs. Unless maybe, yeah, they're not in his fetlocks, and they're not things that like kind of come up and they don't tend to stay there. But sometimes our horses and their hocks will just get that little fluid pocket when they have some inflammation, and then with the right sort of support it'll go back down. So I keep getting, I gotta check in with these comments as I go here to make sure I'm staying on track. But then I lose track of what I'm talking about. So back to the responsiveness, we have to be willing to sometimes go through some ugly stuff to like get to something better. And here's the thing about it though, is that when we have to get really firm with our horses at times, we need to stay consistent, and we'll find ourselves and have consistently high standards, and we'll find ourselves in that position a lot less often, because a lot of times what happens is that we've slacked off in what we have required with our horse, like let's say over the past 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, we're moving to the next stage, I really need you to be on your game, and they're not, right? And then it's like, look, I need you to be on your game. It's like, and then it's like, well, actually, I've kind of, you know, if we look at ourselves, we could admit that maybe we've slacked off and haven't really asked for that high level of responsiveness that we should have been, that we need to have. If we required it every day, our horses wouldn't have to get in trouble from once in a while. Does that make sense? And so anyway, we can't be afraid to go to phase 4, but I think in general we need to start and we need to be a lot lighter and make sure that we're always, that when we ask for something, we are asking really lightly, and then we're willing to, if necessary, to go to that really quick, firm phase 4 in order to get the responsiveness we need. And a lot of us are staying in the like phase 2 and 3, as far as like we're not super soft when we ask, and then we're not firm enough to reinforce. And so if we started in number 1, like a really light phase 1, and then we're willing to get firm when necessary, our horses would be a lot more responsive and they would maintain that a lot better. And so here's the thing I want to mention too, is that there are a lot of horses out there who I could get on and I could pick up the reins or put my leg on them and I would feel like I had nothing, right? And if I went, like if I used like an over and under to say, hey, move off my leg, or if I like really got into them, like went to a phase 4, they would like lose their mind or buck or do like really have an outburst. And the truth is that our horses have to be willing to accept a phase 4, sort of a correction, and if they don't, then there's more work to do on the ground. Where if they are like kind of on the edge of like losing their mind and doing something unsafe or inappropriate, like putting us in jeopardy, it's like we can't be afraid to go to phase 4. And so basically, if we're in that position, it is a losing game. It is a losing game because we're not going to be able to shape and correct the behavior that we want if we're afraid of how our horse is going to react. And then if we do get after them, then they're going to react, and that's going to be a negative too, which we don't want to create that situation. So we need to have our horse be able to accept that firmness without and being emotionally fit about it and not having an outburst, and that really starts on the ground. And so there are a lot of horses that I wouldn't feel comfortable going to a phase 4 because no one has held them to that standard. And who knows how, what their response is going to be like. And so I hope that's valuable. And the other thing I was going to mention is that when we have to get firm, we don't have to get angry or emotional ourselves. Like, yes, usually when we're having to get to phase 4, if we're really honest, it's usually kind of a moment of frustration. But I always catch myself, I don't always do it perfectly in the moment, but I catch myself immediately afterwards and smile, because it's like, can you be firm and fast without like gritting your teeth and being like, you better get, or like, can you just smile and be like black and white and be emotionally fit and level-headed and be like, I need you to go like right now. And like smile about it, like, because our horse is a lot less likely to get scared or resentful if we are able to get firm when necessary without being like mean or mad or emotional, like we're like ambushing them or attacking them or something. And that's the thing, is that some horses are going to get a little right brain, but we have to have that responsiveness. So it's a constant, like a balancing act. So sometimes if we get that responsiveness, but we lose a little bit of the emotional fitness, then we have to go back, or the confidence, we have to go back and just build that up and create the balance so that we can have it all. And Pistol, he won't necessarily like get afraid, but he'll get a little bit tense and kind of defensive. And what I want to be able to do is that I want to be able to influence and move my horse anywhere, anytime, and like, I want to be able to pick him up and move him, and I want him to say like soft and round. So it's like, can you be super athletic? Can you move anywhere, anytime I ask, and not get like bracy, like the least bit bracy about it, in there without tension. And again, a lot of that, it goes back to soundness is a big thing, because if I go, and especially where we're at, but if he's not really maintaining that responsiveness, if I'm doing my part to be consistent and he's just kind of slow, then that is an area I go back to and look at again. So, good morning, Kelly. Hey, Michelle. So I hope that's helpful. But yeah, like, not every single ride is like all rainbows necessarily, but we can always like feel good at the end of it that we were firm, that we were fair. It's about being gentle but effective. So, and there's definitely a way to do that, and a lot of it has to do with having that willingness, always starting really light and having the willingness to get firm when necessary, and then giving our horse, creating the foundation, like not giving them any reasons, legitimate reasons under the surface to like not want to do what we ask, and have all the reasons to say yes to everything that we ask. So I hope that's helpful. It's my intention for you to really move forward with what I've shared today and to think about it, but most importantly, take action on it. So I hope it's a blessing to you. And Pistol is just about dry. I'm actually going to go walk him. He needs to really get a little bit more practice on the hot walker so I can put him on there while I'm talking with you. But I'm going to go hand walk him a little bit more. It's really, really ideal after a tough workout for them to not just stand around. So I'm going to get him moving a little bit more. He's already been walked out and had his bath, but I'm going to do a little bit more for him. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me this morning. And I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I will be popping in again on Monday morning with another episode of Pistol's Progress. And oh, let me see your comment, Kelly. Yeah, and I have definitely felt like I've been in those shoes before, but we have to have the same expectations for our horse at home as we do like when we're out in public. And the thing is that like if we're doing our part, if we are really doing our part, we really shouldn't have too much of those ugly moments, and it shouldn't take like a whole lot to really be effective. And so, but yeah, that is a really good point, Kelly, and I've definitely been in that position where you're just putting too much value on what other people think. And I was on that topic, maybe I'll get into that another day, but I just watched a really awesome little video clip from a speaker that talked about being held hostage to other people's opinion. And man, isn't that the truth, right? Like, it's so, we are basically held back, like held in jail by the opinions of others. It traps us, it keeps us from our potential. And we want to be able to follow, you know, our specific calling without anything holding us back, and just have like complete belief in the purpose behind that. So, but awesome comment. Thanks for sharing, Katie. So, all right, guys, I will see you on Monday morning, and I hope you have an amazing weekend. I look forward to hearing about how it went then. So until then, I'll be sharing a few more tips over the weekend on social media, so keep an eye out. And if you haven't already subscribed to my weekly email tips, you can do that on the free guide and tips page at barrelracingtips.com. And of course, as usual, keep my book series in mind if you'd like more support. And I also offer video coaching if you didn't know. So thanks again, and we'll see you again soon.